All right. What's up, everyone? Packers Weekly Discussion. I think this is the 5th episode. Got a few weeks until the draft, and we wanted to do a post-free agency sort of reevaluating what our needs are for the draft upcoming. And then we're also going to do a live mock draft. So basically, we're going to do it's a PFF simulator, and basically we're just taking control, being the GMs of the Packers, and we're just going to draft. We're going to talk about some of the prospects that we like, who we shouldn't get, things of that nature. But the first topic that we want to get into is evaluating the Packers draft needs post-free agency. So the way we broke it down is basically we have like tiers. So tiers 1 through 4, and it basically assesses like the need or how we view the need. So Nick, what is the first tier and what position? We could go position by position for tier 1.
So tier 1 is what Blake and I believe are day one starters. These are people that we need to draft that are going to make an impact immediately. These people are going to be playing week 1, opening day, and we're ready for them to help win the Packers ball games instantly as soon as they join the team. The first position, no surprise, is wide receiver. And the wide receiver position for the Packers has been something that the Packers have needed to build for the last few years. Rodgers just needs another weapon out there. He has Devontae Adams, and then it really falls off. There's Allen Lazard's not bad, but he's not that number 2 receiver. We'd really like someone else there. Devin Funchess is coming back this year. It's going to be really interesting after him taking a year off. He has not played a game for the Packers yet. I'm excited to see what he does, but we definitely need a wide receiver that can start right away and help Aaron Rodgers make plays.
Yeah, so I think you kind of hit it right on the head, nail on the head there. So we have obviously pass catching wise or just like receivers wise. The receiver position alone, Devontae Adams, really obviously amazing, top 5 receiver, this, that, the other. Number 2 is Allen Lazard. He's a okay number 2. He really is. If he was a 3, he'd be an insanely good 3 in my opinion. One of the best run blockers. Really good at like deep balls. I think if you remember the Saints game, and he's had a few other games, Rams game too, he can catch deep balls off play action, pretty fast, really tall. Rodgers trusts him. I think that's why he's gotten as far as he has. He was a practice squad guy for a minute. So with the Jaguars and others, I wish he didn't go to Iowa State, but I'm going to stop talking about him. And then next we have Marquez Valdes-Scantling, averages over 20 yards a catch. Drops a lot of passes, though, which is kind of the issue. And he's not the best number 3. After that, not the best. So Malik Taylor, Equinemius St. Brown, Tyler Irvin, if you'd consider him a receiver. So
he's kind of a flex. He can play in the backfield.
Yeah, he's more of a running back than a receiver, but regardless. So that is a need. And we have done some virtual interviews. So with a couple guys who are receivers. So the first one, we've talked about him. We did a video on him, Rondale Moore. So we've done interview with him. And then the only other like receiver we've done is Demetric Felton. He's a running back / receiver from UCLA. So this is definitely a need. Nick, where do you think we should draft a receiver?
So I am very much against taking a receiver in the first round. I do not think receivers should be used in the first round. There's just so many of them, and they're pretty risky in the first round when there's other needs as well. But I would be fine taking a receiver in the second round. Rondale Moore, we had a great interview with him. He was even posting about the Packers on his socials.
Yeah.
And he's a guy, as you said earlier, that could play wide receiver, but also like flex as like jet sweep guy, running the backfield a little bit, like because he's very explosive when he gets the ball and he can make plays in open field and with people in front of him. But I do not want to take Rondale Moore in the first round. Yeah. I don't think he'll get to the second round, but I'm ready to take a wide receiver in the second round, not the first round, because there are other needs, which brings us to our next tier 1 position, offensive tackle. So near the end of last season, David Bakhtiari tore his ACL, which sucked because the Packers had the number 2 ranked offensive line, and I believe offensive lines win championships. And that really hurt the Packers late in the season because Billy Turner's a great guy, but the perfect scenario is when he's at guard and Bakhtiari is at tackle on opposite sides. Billy Turner right guard, Bakhtiari left tackle. That's when the Packers do best. So we need an offensive tackle that can come in right away and play the first few weeks, because Bakhtiari ain't going to be ready to go right away since he tore his ACL at the end of the season, and that's a pretty long injury. He'll be ready by mid-season, probably after the first few weeks, but he's not going to be ready week 1.
Yeah, and to your point, so Billy Turner, he played left tackle, right guard, right tackle. So, like, his versatility is awesome. Elton Jenkins, he can play tackle if he needs to. Like, he can literally.
We want him at guard, though. We want him at guard.
Yeah, we prefer him at guard, possibly center. So I think the ideal offensive line for us, and how I view it, is like Bakhtiari left tackle, Elton Jenkins, Runyon, Lucas Patrick, and then a couple of the other guys that we drafted. They can fill out the interior, left guard and center. And then I would want Turner to right guard ideally. He can kick out to tackle, right tackle. Like, that's not a problem, but he's better at guard, I think. And then if we drafted a tackle round 1, that's where I think our O-line would be awesome. And you did mention too, Bakhtiari's out, so like we'd ideally want to have someone there that we can trust. I know we have Nijman, who hasn't seen the field too much. He's like
they're saying Simon Stepaniak, who we drafted in last year's draft, might be that opening day guy, which he just hasn't played yet. So I don't know if I want him protecting Rodgers when he just hasn't played. He was a later round pick, 6th round. So we need someone who we know he can play.
And I really think they might hone in on the round, especially after seeing the confidence that they're showing in either some of the younger guys, which I don't know if that's what it is, or the fact that they're going to draft someone, because they did release Ricky Wagner, and so we have the 29th pick in the draft is our first rounder. So maybe they go maybe they go tackle, or another O-line position, like if they went right guard or guard and they just had Billy Turner kick out to right tackle permanently. So interesting to see with that. And now, Nick, what would be the next spot, unless you have any more thoughts on tackle?
So as you're saying, like, yeah, Billy Turner, he could play tackle. We don't want him at tackle, though. We want him at guard.
Yeah.
And that's where he belongs. That's where he plays his best. So our last tier 1 position is inner D line. We made a couple of videos earlier where we talked about, like, oh, what if we got J.J. Watt?
Yeah.
What if we got a couple other players? We didn't get them. We knew we probably weren't going to get them. Neither of us really wanted J.J. Watt either. Like, we wanted him, but he was also really expensive, so we were okay that we didn't sign him. It wasn't practical for the Packers to go out and get J.J. Watt. But Kenny Clark, he got paid a lot last year, and he started slow, but then he started returning to the reason he gets paid a lot. He is really good at stopping the run, but he needs a guy beside him who can also help him stop the run, which is why we need to draft an inner D lineman that can come and play right away and help Kenny Clark stop that run.
Yeah, so looking at the interior D line, I feel like it's been a weakness for the last couple of years. Once Mike Daniels kind of got old and left, it's been problematic. So right now, depth chart, Kenny Clark's the nose tackle, 0 tech, right lines right up over the center. And then to the left and right of him, it's kind of a rotation of Kingsley Kiki, who's going to be in his 2nd year. He's shown some promise, but I'm not really too confident in him starting. Dean Lowry, who hasn't really performed to his contract level. And then Tyler Lancaster, who's more of a rotational guy that they brought back. I'm totally cool with Lancaster being like the 3rd or 4th guy.
Yeah, but we don't want him out there.
If he's playing like significant minutes, that's when it's kind of an issue.
I agree.
So yeah, there's a couple guys. One guy who I want to talk about a little bit, Aleem McNeil out of NC State. So he's typically a nose tackle, but this dude is so good against the run. He's massive too. Like I said, he's a nose tackle. Doesn't offer much for pass rushing, but against the run, he would help shore up a lot of those issues that we have. And he eats double teams, so him and Clark eating double teams would be awesome to watch. I think he'd be a great addition in the 2nd, maybe 3rd round if he slips. That would be sweet. But Aleem McNeil's the guy that I want, and I hope we get. But that's just a quick little thing, and I'm sure we might draft him later in the mock.
We'll see.
But all right, we can move on to the next position now.
Yeah, so we have the 29th round pick, or the 29th pick in the 1st round, and we don't want a wide receiver there. We've said we want tackle or inner D line. But now we're going to go to our tier 2 positions, and these are the players that will play like every week, but they won't start. They'll just be the guys that come in on third down or come in when other players are tired. They're going to play. They're just not going to start, and we'd be fine with taking these players in the first round too. So the first position that we have in tier 2 is cornerback. And cornerback used to be a tier 1 for us when we just had Jair and Kevin King was a free agent, but then we re-signed Kevin King, and we're not like super excited about Kevin King, but we'll accept him. And obviously, game against the Bucs in the playoffs where all Packers fans were very upset with Kevin King. He allowed about 3 touchdowns, and everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, get rid of him. He should never play for Packers again." But once that blew over, we signed him for pretty cheap, and he's a good corner 2 when he's healthy. He wasn't healthy at the end of the year, but when he's healthy, we can accept him as a corner 2. But we still want another corner that maybe won't start over Kevin King, maybe will, maybe won't though, and just comes in as that other guy, that our other option.
Yep. Yeah, so like kind of off that, Kevin King's deal is only 1 year. So like we've seen what happens in the past if we don't invest in corner. 2016 playoffs against the Falcons happens when Ladarius Gunter signed off the street or practice squad is guarding Julio one-on-one. And so we have invested heavily over the years. I mean, think of Jair in the first, Josh Jackson in the second, Demarius Randall, we took him in the first. He played corner a lot for us. Quentin Rollins in the second. They took Josh Jones. He's more of a safety, but still, they've invested a lot. But I think they need to either maybe they draft a slot guy in the mid-rounds, or because we have Chandon Sullivan there, and he's okay. You could definitely improve that. But
he's a slot
if they
guy.
want a guy
okay
who can come in and he's all right. Like, he's not the worst, but he definitely gets torched a little bit.
There could be a better guy there. Yes, I agree.
Yeah, there could be better. It could be worse. He's okay. But we've seen Kevin King get injured a lot, and that's kind of been one of the issues with him is health. The past 2 years he's been healthy, but before that he really wasn't. And then if Jair goes down, like, what are we going to do? Because we don't really have the best of depth. We have Kadar Holman, who we drafted late, Josh Jackson. I previously mentioned him. He played a decent amount last year, but didn't look the best.
Yeah.
A lot of defense pass interferences. So getting a guy in the second would maybe he doesn't have to start right away, but he could play a significant amount of time due to injury. And then also you can never have enough corners. There's always going to be 3 receivers on the field on third down most of the time. And again, a lot of teams do run with 2 to 3 receivers. So,
all right. So that wraps up cornerback at tier 2. We have another tier 2 position. It's also defense. It's inner linebacker. And we're defense because, I mean, the Packers got to the NFC Championship game the last 2 seasons and lost both times. And Rodgers didn't play poorly. Like, he had good games. We just need to stop the other offenses. And we're able to get to the playoffs, but we really need those players. Once again, this is a player that won't start, but will come in. So we need those players that we need depth on our defense. And we both agree that our defense is lacking in depth. We have those top tier guys, but we don't have that throughout the whole defense, which is why a couple more or another inner linebacker that plays, won't start, but will play would be very, very helpful for the Packers defense in the long run in that postseason, getting us over the hump, winning 2 more games to be world champions.
So I actually think if we took an interior line or an inside linebacker in the first or second, I probably think they would start. Okay. But I think the main reason that we labeled it tier 2 is more of the fact that we have 2 young guys, Kamal Martin and Chris Barnes, who flashed last year. They looked solid for where we drafted them. They got the job done for the most part. Kirksey wasn't the best in the beginning of the year. He picked it up in the end, but we cut him, save cap. Yep. So I think if we took a guy in the first or second here, I wouldn't be opposed. Now, I highly doubt this will happen. I think we've seen the Packers neglect this position. I feel like they always take it in like the 4th round. We took Jake Ryan there. We took Blake Martinez in the 4th. And
I don't think we're taking an inner linebacker in the first 2 rounds.
I don't either.
I don't think we are.
If we did, I would not be opposed. There's a couple guys, 2 for sure that I kind of like. Zaven Collins out of Tulsa, freak athlete. Would definitely be a playmaker for our defense. And then Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, He's a really good coverage linebacker. Now, will these guys even make it to 29? I know Owosu Korowoa probably won't. I don't know if Zaven Collins will either. So that's where the issue is. But if they took a guy in first or second that's really good in coverage, or just, a really high profile athlete, that would add a lot to our defense, especially run defense. I mean, I feel like we haven't had a really good inside linebacker since Desmond Bishop in like 2010. It's been too long. It really has been.
It's been a while.
But yeah, like I said, the guys we have are they're promising, and we have them for the next 3 years really cheap. So maybe they want to develop them more. And I like Chris Barnes a lot. I think he has potential as being a run stuffing linebacker. He's really instinctual.
I do too. So that'll wrap up our tier 2. And now we're going to go back to the offense. We just talked a lot about defensive players. Mm-hmm. Tier 3 these are just development players who are future needs. They're not going to come in this season. They might not even come in the next year. But these are players that in the future we're going to need them. And to start that off, we have running back. So the Packers just re-signed Aaron Jones. We took A.J. Dillon in the second round last year. And I like A.J. Dillon a lot. He showed a lot. In the couple games that he played, he scored a couple touchdowns, and the Packers lost Jamal Williams this offseason. Jamal Williams was a really, really good second back to Aaron Jones. He had no fumbles. He's never fumbled in his career. Obviously, he didn't have as many carries as Aaron Jones does. But now we have Aaron Jones, and backing him up, we have A.J. Dillon, and I think that's solid. But A.J. Dillon was the third guy last year. Jamal Williams is gone, so now we need another third guy. He might only get a few carries this year, but he'll be a future guy. Because Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon aren't sticking around forever. And running backs are very, they don't last long always. They could be gone in a year. You just don't know with running backs. They're very unpredictable, and they don't have long careers compared to these other positions.
Yeah, I think that's important to point out. Running back shelf lives are among the lowest in the league. Mm-hmm. And it's a position, if you draft it, they can come in and instantly make an impact no matter what the round. You remember this past season, James Robinson, undrafted free agent, came in, had over 1,000 rushing yards with the Jags. So it's definitely a transferable, pretty easy to transfer from college to NFL and succeed. There's not as much of a learning curve as, say, a cornerback or a quarterback, or even a safety for that matter. Those positions, there's a steeper learning curve. And then, like you mentioned, so besides Dillon and Jones, we kind of need a good pass blocker, and then I would say a receiving type guy. That would be
right now. If we don't get one, it's Tyler Ervin. It is. That's who that third guy is. Right?
Yeah, but he does more the gadget stuff, like the flex role that we kind of talked about with Rondale Moore would do.
What Rondale Moore would be,
yeah. So I feel like he doesn't block much. But yeah, I feel like another guy would definitely be more ideal. And they did bring in Javian Hawkins from Louisville for a visit. Now I'm pretty sure this dude is really he's supposed to go later in the draft, but he's a short dude. He's 5'9". So I think he would fit that mold of maybe being a flex and then that third down back or just the third guy. Someone's mentioning Giovanni Bernard. That would be interesting.
He was just cut.
Yeah, he was just cut by the Bengals. I don't know if we have the cap room or how much he would command. Hopefully not much if we were to sign him.
I don't think he'd be that expensive.
Our cap room,
I don't really know if I want him either.
Yeah, we kind of got to sign our rookie class. And I think that's where our cap space would go. And we usually save some money for an in-season signing. So I doubt we'd get Gio Bernard, but a third running back is definitely something for the future, is bottom line.
Our next tier 3 position is edge. Right now we have Rashawn Gary and Zardarius Smith, and they are amazing. I love them. Zardarius Smith, one of the best in the league. Rashawn Gary, he was our first-round draft pick 2 years ago.
He's coming up.
He's becoming one of the best in the league.
Yeah, he's good.
2 years ago, it was the Smith brothers, Rashawn Gary and Zardarius Smith. We did re-sign Preston Smith, and he has fun too. He was good at the end of last season, but I really think this is the year Rashawn Gary's going to break out, which is why this is a future need. This isn't a player that we need right away. We're not going to use a first or second round pick on this again after using a first round pick on this 2 years ago. So Darius Smith and Rashawn Gary are going to hold it down, but so Darius Smith isn't going to be around forever. Does he have 2 years left, I think? So he'll be here 2 more seasons.
Yeah, they're talking extensions with him.
Okay. Rashawn Gary should be around for a while.
So he's played for 2 years. So he still has
Mhm.
2 years and then a 5th-year option, team
Yeah.
option. So yeah, but besides them three, we have one other younger guy who's like shown promise, but not really much in that department. So if there's like an injury or if there was 2 injuries, we'd be starting Gary or the non-injured guy and then kind of someone really inexperienced who doesn't have a lot of play time. So getting someone, maybe an athletic freak that we can just have come in occasionally on passing downs, kind of where we're looking at edge.
We're going to stay with the defense. Our next tier 3 position is a safety.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, the Packers' 2 safeties that are out there starting, Adrian Amos and Darnell Savage, are
Good
amazing.
combo.
I love watching them. They love working together. They have a lot of fun. Whenever one of them makes a play, they're always hyping each other out.
Yeah.
Darnell Savage is the younger one. Adrian Amos came over from the Browns a couple years ago.
Bears.
But the Bears, sorry.
Yeah.
And the Packers like to bring in a third safety, though, a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a guy that we could get now and develop so he could become that guy in the future. But the 2 safety starting are locked in. Those are core positions.
Yeah.
We don't need to worry about replacing those anytime soon, not for the next couple of years at least. But we do need someone. We do need to always think about the future.
So to your point, the third safety. So that was Will Redmond last year. We re-signed him this year, so that's why it's kind of the tier 3. We also drafted Vernon Scott 7th round last year. So maybe if they don't like what they're seeing from Scott or they just want someone new in there and they like a prospect, that's why we have it at tier 3. I wouldn't be surprised though if it was like a tier 2 thing and
it could be a tier 2. It definitely, obviously, won't be a tier 1, but they could play.
So like they could get experience in that, and then also I know they like and value versatility. So if there was like a tweener guy that they're like, okay, he can play third safety / nickel corner, that could be something. Or we didn't re-sign Raven Green, who was kind of our strong safety, like inside linebacker guy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Josh Jones was supposed to be or fill that need. He's no longer with us. So if they went that route and drafted like a safety who became a box safety and just like a inside linebacker and was a little undersized, like I could realistically see that. And he's in there for coverage more. It all just depends on if they value that as a big need right now. Or maybe they want to re-sign Raven Green, who knows. So that's
our last tier 3 positions are guard and center on the offensive line. So in the perfect world, we just have Elton Jenkins as left guard and Billy Turner as our right guard. We just lost Corey Lindsley at center, but we still have people to fill that in because our offensive line is strong. Once Bakhtiari's back, we should have probably the best offensive line in the league. I really do think we do. Maybe definitely top 5.
Top 5 usually, yeah.
I think we have 1 or 2. And we just need another guard or center to develop because the Packers are really good at developing offensive linemen to come in, but they don't re-sign offensive linemen very often. So once these linemen's contracts are going to end, they're probably going to leave. In the past, like Josh Sitton, Corey Lindsey, those are just a couple of the people that eventually leave the Packers after we develop them. And also, offensive linemen get injured a lot more than people realize. They do come out a lot, even if it's just for a week or two. You need people that can fill that spot because that's who's protecting the man, the guy who's controlling the game, which is for us, Aaron Rodgers. And that's how we're going to win ball games is Aaron Rodgers. And if he's not protected because someone goes down, we need someone to back up, which is why we need to start developing these players now.
Yeah, so we took 3 last year, and that's why it's really not that pressing of a need. But so we took 3 last year. We have Elton. We have Lucas Patrick. But if 3 of those 5 could start at guard and center realistically. So that's 3. If Billy Turner's pushed out to the outside, which is looking likely for the first few weeks, and then if maybe they don't like one of those guys' development or they want to take a flyer on someone who's really athletic, that's where I think it'd come in. I kind of disagree with the re-signing. I feel like we'll re-sign guys to a second contract, but once the second contract expires, that's when I feel like they let them go. Sitton, Lang, and Lindsley were they all did 2 contracts, but their third contract is when they started
they were still good when we got rid of them, is what I'm saying.
No, they were they still were they weren't scrubs at that point.
They still would have started.
Lindsley was all pro last year, so yeah.
Our final tier is tier 4. These are positions we do not want to draft at all, so we'll
Mhm.
go through these pretty quickly. I'm just going to list them all off, say what I have to say about them, then Blake can fill in what I miss. These are quarterback, kicker, long snapper, and tight end. At quarterback, we obviously have Aaron Rodgers, and we drafted Jordan Love in the first round last year.
Yeah.
We lost Tim Boyle, our third string, but we just need to sign an undrafted free agent. We're not using a pick. We don't really care there. Kicker, we have Mason Crosby. He did struggle a couple of years ago, but he did really well last year. Really well last year.
Yeah, it was great.
And then long snapper, you don't draft a long snapper. And tight end, we drafted tight end last year. He did not get a lot of playing time. He played in a game or two. I think he played 2 games, had 1 reception. He was injured, though. And then we obviously just re-signed Robert Tonyan to another, was it 1 or 2 years?
I think it was 1, but we also re-signed Mercedes Lewis.
We did re-sign Mercedes Lewis to 2 more years. So Robert Tonyan obviously had double-digit touchdowns last year. Mercedes Lewis is the guy who comes in. He's a veteran, and he's a really good blocker, but he can also catch a few balls. He doesn't have a lot of drops, and that's why those 4 positions really just do not draft them, Packers.
And we didn't mention punter, but that could be a need if 6th or 7th round, if they don't like J.K. Scott, who's not been the best, but
he was really good, and then he just kind of
don't know what happened last season. He looked fine. They could draft a guy. I just don't think it's too pressing to have a big discussion about. But now, kind of the super exciting part of this all. We're gonna do a live mock. So how I'm envisioning this. It's already set up where we're the Packers. We're about to start the draft. We're not going to do any trades because that just complicates things. And we're just going to see who's available, maybe talk through some of the positions. And then at the end, we're going to go, okay, here's what our roster would look like if we took these guys in the position. So without further ado, start the draft. So it's going through. We're at 29. Just got to wait. And we do get graded at the end, which is interesting. Okay. So here's some of the prospects that they are saying. So Elijah Moore, Jason.
We don't want a wide receiver.
Yeah. So I think me and you can rule out this edge and receiver. We don't really want those. 3 tackles, Walker Little, Dylan Radins, and Tevin Jenkins. So Tevin Jenkins, actually, we did talk with him or did a virtual interview with him. So that's an option. Another guy, Sante Samuel Jr., son of previous football player, Sante Samuel, obviously. Interview with him as well. Nick Bolton, Elijah Vera-Tucker.
There is Zaven Collins. We talked about him.
Zaven Collins, yes. He would be good. So, Nick, what do you think? They're telling us receiver, linebacker, corner. We kind of already outlaid what we like.
I'm thinking tackle or linebacker. If we go linebacker, I'm thinking we're going with Zaven Collins. He's very athletic. He can get to the quarterback. He had a few picks. If we're going tackle, then I'd go with Tevin Jenkins, in my opinion.
Okay, so I'm between Tevin Jenkins and Samuel.
Okay, I'd be fine with corner as well.
Let's just go Jenkins. So we're going tackle first round.
That was one of our tier 1 needs. We're going to need first 2 weeks.
That's kind of the main reason we're going with him. Samuel would be nice. If he slid in the second, that'd be awesome. Don't think he will.
I don't think he did.
Okay, so now we got safety. Javon Holland. So I know we interviewed with him.
We did talk to him.
Yep. So a lot of safeties. Linebacker. Edge, we don't need edge here. Guard, corner, center. So what are you thinking? So right now,
I'm thinking the corner out of Oregon, personally.
Javon Holland.
Interesting.
Okay, so yeah, the Packers, I believe they interviewed with him or they went to his pro day was what it was. So they went to the Oregon pro day. They did interview with another corner on Oregon, Thomas Graham. So that's definitely interesting. And now I'm with you on Holland. So he could be like kind of that safety corner that we talked about.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't think he'll start over King, but he's definitely going to get
maybe in
playing
the
time
squad, right?
every game.
Mm-hmm. So we are up third round. So far, we have taken a couple of guys. We've taken Tevin Jenkins, tackle. We've taken corner Javon Holland. Next, there's safety available, linebacker, safety guard, corner, receiver, defensive lineman. Lots of stuff here.
Can you sort the receivers? I'm thinking we need a guy to help Rodgers out now. I'm thinking we're getting to that point.
Receiver, okay, sure. So we're looking at receiver Josh Palmer, Cade Johnson. This is interesting. I think we could hold off, but Amir Smith.
I was just going to say, I think he'll be available in the next round. It looks like all of them except the top one will be available in the next round. So we probably want to hold off there.
Okay. Yeah, I think Marset would be an awesome get. I think the value here would be Davis, linebacker.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking linebacker. Or linebacker or safety was what was going through my head after we wrote out receiver for this round.
So here is this little coverage, 36 stops in 10 games, length and athleticism, just some more random stats there. So we're going to take him. So we have a tackle taken a corner, taking a linebacker. I'm thinking receivers next.
We have 2 picks in the 4th round, correct?
Yes, we do. We have 2 fourths, 2 fifths, 2 sixths, and a 7th. So I think here we were looking for receiver particularly.
Yeah, see, they're all still there except the one guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking we just –
yeah, he got taken, of course. Now, Amari Rodgers, he would be an interesting guy. He was at the Senior Bowl, looked really good there. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking Cade Johnson, the South Dakota State man.
Yeah, it's always interesting taking those FCS players because they're just not going up against the same level of corners, but they dominate in their league. Like Cade Johnson is very, very good. So, but he's just going up against what people refer to as lower competition, but yeah, I do like Cade Johnson.
All right. We're going Cade Johnson. So we got a receiver now. Now this is a comp pick right here that we got from Blake Martinez. And we've taken a receiver, linebacker, corner, tackle. Of our needs, really, I'm trying to think. We're missing one of our big ones.
We're missing inner D lineman.
Yeah, I think that would be next up. I think Milton Williams is the pick there.
Yeah.
Best guy on the board.
He's the best option available. That's what you're looking for once you start getting to the back end of the 4th round. But obviously at the position you need, not just the best guy available.
Yeah. And now it's going 5th round. So here's where we can kind of go anywhere.
Yeah, I'm thinking we either get another wide receiver or corner with one of these 5th rounders and then a safety with the other one.
Interesting. So wide receiver or corner.
Just like as another guy.
Yeah, I'd say Trey Brown is looking like pretty solid value here. 148 ADP. Oklahoma, he's a little short, physical.
Looks like he's fast.
Yeah. So
all right, I'm good with Trey Brown.
So we're going Trey Brown. So that's our second corner. So we probably don't need to go anywhere there again. This is interesting. And I think this would be the spot for kind of that pick. So Khalil Herbert's actually very, very good. He was at the Senior Bowl. So 4.7 yards.
I like that yards after contact. That's a stat that really sticks out to me with running backs because it just shows like, all right, they're not only hitting the holes, they're getting hit and they're still making plays. And that's really big on 3rd down, which the Packers have struggled on 3rd down in the past. Obviously, he's probably not going to be the 3rd down back right away, but this is just a guy we need to develop for the future. Yeah,
and he's a really good receiver too. I did want to throw that in there. So this is kind of like a perfect fit for us, honestly. He could come in occasionally on 3rd down and be a receiver. He's pretty small, but as a 3rd running back, like I think he'd be perfect. So we're taking Khalil Herbert out of Virginia Tech. Now we're getting into the 6th round here. And this is where you can really go anywhere. What would you like to do here? I'm thinking edge or double dip at one of our top needs.
Yeah, I was thinking wide receiver double dip personally, but if you want to we can look at what edges are available as well, because
So
it looks like there's a good one, and always like Big Ten players.
Yeah, exactly. So Jonathan Cooper is available. Wouldn't be opposed. Receivers on the board. Javian Hawkins is there. We could have waited maybe on him. Tackle, corner.
I like Jonathan Cooper.
Yeah, let's go Cooper here.
Right.
Take an edge. So this is our first edge. So he would be 4th or 5th in the rotation. Now this is our second pick in the 6th round.
I don't think we need another lineman. We got 3 in the last draft. We already got that one in the first round.
Yep.
We might want to look for that safety that we were talking about. That guy that we can develop. If there's any of those available. We obviously do. I don't want another halfback. Don't need a tight end.
I wouldn't be mad at another.
We could go in or D line.
I think that's the move here. Looking like pretty solid value.
Can you sort it by D line so we can just look at a couple of them? All right.
Yeah, I'm with you on D line here. Go to D line. So Goodson, Mustafa Johnson out of Colorado. Don't want him. Only kidding there. I'm not too familiar with these guys, to be quite honest with you.
I don't know too much about them either. I think we just take let's read about the top 2 guys there, and then we can decide based on.
They don't really have much information. Okay. We could just go with O'Brien Goodson.
Yeah, it looks like he's a top-ranked guy.
They're pretty similar ranking, but yeah, we're going to just another D line, and then here's our last pick. Again, could go anywhere.
Just went there in the 7th round.
Yeah, interesting. So there's a ton of running backs. D line, I'd say just double dip at corner with Marcelino Ball. Pretty cool name.
I don't like taking an IU guy, but yeah, it's the last round. I guess we can let it slide.
We'll go with that. Okay, sweet. So we're getting our grade now. Not looking like too hot off the bat, to be honest with you. Grade-wise, we got a B- here. So I guess what we kind of wanted to do is
it just looks like they didn't agree with us at tackle, but we're just thinking like Bakhtiari's injured. We really need a guy who can play those first few weeks because we don't want to start behind. And we're not saying he's going to be there the whole season. Once Bakhtiari comes back, he'll probably move to a backup tackle. But offensive line is very important. We got to protect Aaron Rodgers. Also at corner in the 2nd round, I just think like that's a good pick because Kevin King's a guy who has an injury history. He wasn't just injured at the end of last year. He's been injured in the past. And he's also just not super trustworthy. But obviously Jair on the other side, so that's probably what they're talking about there. They liked our pick at linebacker. Wide receiver in the 4th round, I'm kind of surprised that they gave us a C+ there just because like we're getting a weapon for Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean, obviously these are like pretty random. I'm pretty sure if you go like all quarterback draft, you're getting A+ every time. So the grading is pretty it's not
we don't need to focus on the grading. We know why we picked them.
It's more a position for like most of the round.
I don't think he knows his players.
Yeah. And some of these guys like Khalil Herbert, who I'm pretty familiar with, like, yeah, he wouldn't see the field a ton, but like having a third halfback is pretty important, and he would fit a need there.
It's not just that halfbacks have a short life like in the league. They get injured a lot too. Like, if Jones or Dillon go down, we need someone who can run the ball because if Jones goes down, Dillon is not playing a whole game by himself. And if Dillon goes down, Jones can play a whole game by himself, but he's not going to have strong legs for the playoffs. So we really do need a third guy.
Yeah, so that's why I really like the value of like getting a running back at some point. 5th round, you could even argue 4th round too. But so that is the mock. I want to say thank you to Pinehorn, one of the OGs. He's always He's always on the Niners streams and other streams, so we thank you.
Very much appreciated.
Yes, and
Means a lot.
Appreciate using your girls card as well. So that's kind of funny. But that's gonna wrap up this live stream. So we did the Packers free agency needs, did a little mock draft where we based more on positional value and best player available for all we think. And then we do have one more question. So I watched all Bengals games, watching Cardinals currently. I think I'm going to give Green Bay a shot after. Any tips I should know going into it being a Niners?
I got this. So you're going to have a lot of fun watching Aaron Rodgers. He's going to throw a lot of touchdowns. But when the Packers are on defense, especially the third down, they're going to allow a lot of first downs. And it's very frustrating. But for some reason, the Packers just play a softer defense on third down. And you're going to notice that a lot. You're going to watch a lot of high-scoring games because the Packers love to score, but they also love to give up points. But you're also going to see a lot of wins because the Packers were 13-3 last 2 years. You're going to love watching Aaron Rodgers. You're going to love watching Devontae Adams. Things he can do with his feet are pretty phenomenal, but it's going to be a lot of fun for you. I hope you enjoy it.
Yep, I'm with you on that. Definitely pay close attention to some of the skill positions and like why we were saying receivers in need. You'll see some pretty frustrating plays from MVS, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, but then also plays where you're like, wow, like 50-yard tutty will take it. And then on the defensive end, watch out for the illustrious cornerback Preston Smith. He played cornerback a couple times this year for reasons unbeknown to us, but we have a new DC, so that's exciting. And yeah, just enjoy it. I mean, they're pretty fun to watch.
Matt LaFleur's he has a really good offensive mind, and it's just fun to see what he can scheme. He switches it up week in and week out, and it surprises us too what he can do.
Yeah, and then off that too, so Shanahan, he was with Shanahan his whole career. He was always underneath him.
They're good friends.
Yep. So I guess like as a Niners fan, you've seen Shanahan's offense. He's a master game planner. I guess you could look for the variations between Shanahan and LaFleur and like concepts they like the same scheme, but like how they use different concepts, within the same realm of scheme, I guess is where I'm trying to go. But yeah, thank you for the comments. Much appreciated. And then, yeah, have a great night. And
we'll be back next week.
Yeah, we will be back next week with some more Packers topics, hopefully covering some of the players. And then also we're going to do some more stuff closer to the draft with prospects and do some reactions in that. But thank you. And